We're going to do a lot of direct sowing, so we'll be talking about that this fall as well. So if you've never done direct sowing as a gardener, you might want to stick around for that because that's going to be really, really fun. Hello, beautiful friends. Welcome back to the channel. So today we have our sunflower bed that we are going to be clearing out. It's sad to see them go, but it is the end of the season and we need the space because we do have fall crops that are starting to come in. We have some fall crops that we've also purchased that we need to put in. There's very few fall crops that I technically purchase, but I do purchase a few, usually things like Brussels sprouts and such that we're going to be doing in all of our raised beds. We're going to do a lot of direct sowing, so we'll be talking about that this fall as well. So if you've never done direct sowing as a gardener, you might want to stick around for that because that's going to be really, really fun. I'm going to love taking you along on doing that in all of these beds. It's going to be a really awesome fall garden. I'm super duper excited. But we do need to go in and get these sunflowers cut, and then we'll try and see if there's any sunflower seeds in the heads at all. I usually leave the heads though because the birds, while I want them to be wild, the birds do love sunflower seeds. So I do let them go to seed and I do let the birds eat off of them. So for about 2 or 3 weeks, they kind of look a little gnarly up there, but I leave them for the bird habitat more than anything. I got to enjoy the flowers while they were here. Now the birds get to enjoy the fruit of those flowers. So we'll make sure that the heads are cleaned off. If not, what we'll do is we'll go on ahead and we'll save the seeds out of that for next year. And then we will take all of the stalks and everything, put them in the back for the compost pile, and it'll break down back there just fine. And if there's any leftover seeds, it'll also seed down there, which is totally fine by us. We're basically permaculturing that back dry creek bed area. So then we'll go in and we'll amend the soil here. So it's going to need some nutrients. Now, the good news is that sunflowers do add nutrition down into the soil. They also will pull toxins out of your soil. So if you've had issues with graze on, contaminated soil, anything along those lines, plant you some sunflowers because they're going to help suck it out of the soil. You can also amend with worm castings and then also mushroom mycelium. Those are the top 3 things that I do and have done to correct our contaminated soil issues, and it works like crazy. So plant sunflowers. They are a gardener's best friend, and it doesn't matter how small of an area, because we have these really small ones here. They actually have a way thinner stalk. You can see right here, it's a much thinner stalk. And they do have smaller sunflower heads on them, but they're just as beautiful. So if you're in a balcony apartment, you might want to try smaller varieties such as that. They will still do the same thing and give you the same benefits. And the birds, bees, they all love them. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to put you on hyperlapse, and then I'll probably pop back up on here and we'll talk about what we're doing to add some nutrition into the soil before we plant the fall crops into this bed. So let me go on ahead, put you on hyperlapse, and we'll get this party started. Yeah. Okay guys, so we've run into a little bit of a problem here. Pulling these out, we got in there and the first thing I noticed was a bunch of dead ladybugs. Now that isn't necessarily, oh my gosh, they're all over me. That isn't necessarily indicative of a bad sign of anything. You know, they have a life cycle. But what we found in the bed, and why the ladybugs were probably there to begin with, is we have alder aphids in this bed. Now, aphids can be very, very invasive, and aphids aren't the best thing to have, but the good news is that aphids are very easy to eliminate from your garden space. That being said, you do not want them in your garden space, and they don't tend to go very far most of the time. Usually they have to be carried. And the other thing that we noticed is that this bed is filled with a bunch of ants. Now, from having had aphids in our cow pea bed last year, that's all the dry shelling peas that we've got over there on the arbors, what I learned was this. Ants will take aphid larvae when they find it and put it on a plant. When they come out of their little cocoon and they start living, what they'll start doing is they'll start chewing on the plant, and the plant will start oozing this sweet sticky sap that technically the aphids are supposed to be eating. However, the ants will come along and they will rob it from the aphid. So the aphid will just kind of keep moving up the plant and will keep making holes, and then the ants will follow and they'll steal and they'll take it back to their little home. And I have the very, very distinct impression that that's exactly what's been happening here on the sunflowers, and that might be why those sunflowers ended up dying back a little bit earlier than what's normal for us. It may just be that they've been chewed on way too much. So we're not going to be planting anything in this bed because with the aphids there, I do not want them chewing on my tender new plants. They chew on the tender new plants, those baby plants aren't going to live. So we don't want to go on ahead and plant in here today. That's going to be on another video now. But what we do need to do is we do still need to amend the soil. So soil health is king when it comes to preventing pests. I mean, in this case, I had no pests in there, so they were brought in by those ants. So we've got to take care of what the ants have done, but we also need to take care of the soil. So we can go on ahead and we can get that taken care of. We're going to probably do one of two things. I may go ahead and put down some powdered Captain Jack's. It's an organic pesticide. It's about the only pesticide that I will use in my garden space. And the only reason I'm saying that is because I would use Dearth, but the problem with Dearth, if you are in the south, is moisture. And it's wet out here from having had rain. And if any moisture gets on Dearth, it deactivates and it won't kill the pests. So maybe we'll do a little bit of a mix of both. But I'm going to go on ahead, I'm going to put you on hyperlapse, and I will come back and show you what we end up doing down the line here, okay? Well, and I spoke too soon, so Mom went and grabbed the bag of Dearth, and she's just dumping it in here. Now, it's not going to do anything to eliminate the soil health or cause problems with soil health. That is the good news about Dearth, is it doesn't do anything that way. It's just going to help, hopefully, kill out the aphids that are in here. And we may just go on ahead, since she's put this thick layer in, we just may leave this and not turn it.
I'm just going to spread it out.
Yeah, and we may wait on amending this bed here just to make sure that we've killed out the larvae, because the Dearth will also treat the larva stage as well as the adult stage. So it gets everybody all the way down. That's why we tend to use Dearth, but as I said, the challenge is it has to not be moist out. Now, the soil is pretty dry in this bed, but if we were to mix in a fresh bag of compost and manure, it would be damp and it would deactivate. So we're going to just hold off on amending the bed and treat for the aphid problem and get that handled before moving on to the next step here. A little bit sad that we don't get to plant those fall crops in, but I'm glad we stumbled onto that when we did, because it's easier to treat now than if we came out here in a week or two and ended up finding out that all of these plants that we had invested time and money and effort into growing ended up dying in this bed because they got eaten by aphids. So we are going to move on. We have a bunch of red ripper on that arch trellis that all need to come off. It's just loaded. So we're going to go on ahead and work on getting all of those guys off instead and get them, of course, cracked and put into jars for storage for the winter. And I'm thinking, based on the way these guys are looking, that this will probably be our last harvest off of these guys for the year, which that's fine. They've produced well. We've already got, as of right now, we have a half-gallon jar full, and then we are working on another quarter. Well, that'd be an eighth of a gallon right now. This is probably going to put us at a full gallon once we get all of these harvested off, I bet you. So we're going to go on ahead. I'm going to put you on hyperlapse because this is going to take a wee while to get all of these guys off, and we'll see you back here in a bit. We've mostly gotten these peas off of the plants. There were quite a few bees and wasps and hornets, and they have been all over those for most of the summer. They seem to really enjoy the nectar that comes out along this node structure. Let me so you see that guy right there? I know the wind's kind of bouncing things around, but they keep coming right in this area. And if, I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick it up or not, but if you look real closely, there is a sticky sort of waxy something that is coming out of there. And I'm going to assume that it must be sort of sugary as well, because they keep flocking to it like crazy. So they weren't real happy when I was up on top on the ladder pulling all of the dried peas that were up there. They started getting a little feisty with me. I ended up with one in my hair. So I decided to back off and let them do their lunch thing. and I will just come out and finish harvesting the top off another time. I don't have too much farther to go up there, if I'm real honest. There really isn't a whole lot left up there, but we got a basket. Is that 3/4 of the way full?
2/3.
2/3? Okay, so a full basket and then 2/3 of a basket. So we've got a lot of dry peas to shell tonight. That's exciting. That's super duper exciting. We may actually end up with closer to 1.5 gallons of dried peas. And then that's not counting that we have the magic runner beans on the other trellis over here that are still in the middle of setting. I think they just needed a little bit of a cool down to start flowering out again. See, we've got all new blooms up in here. So there is a good possibility that we're gonna have a stronger harvest of the magic runner beans than I was anticipating, because really after that heat hit, I was honestly thinking, the way the magic runner beans were looking, that they were about to tap out on me. So that's encouraging. So we should have a few more of those to put into dry storage for the winter. But I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to sign off on this vlog. I guess you'll have to stay tuned for part 2 when we do end up planting out our fall crops. It's a little bit disappointing. I do love planting things. I really genuinely do. It's one of my favorite things to do, is plant things, but I'd rather not lose an entire crop. So waiting is what we're gonna do. But as always, guys, keep it simple, natural, and essential. We'll see you on the next video, and until then, I do have a few videos that are fall related, and I will go on ahead and I will link some over here at the end of this video. And also, don't forget that we do have a quick start guide to small space gardening available for you. So it is there for anybody who is wanting to jump start their garden. You can do it in 3 days. If you're a real go-getter, you could do it in 1. We line out the steps, we line out everything that you need to do, what to look for, and make it super easy for you to accomplish your small space garden dreams. But I will see you guys on the next video. We'll see you later, guys.